All right, we are live on air. Welcome everyone to tonight's training, our continual spring training season. I'm JD Brake. I'm your host for this evening, but you all are here because we are so lucky to have Nate here today. This is always our best trainings are if they're Nate certified, and that is why everyone's here. We are totally honored to have in our presence John Lanier. And Tony Spagnoli. You guys are going to be leading the presentation today. And I want to address the online audience. So again, this is a live interactive training. However, tonight we're going to do something special. We're going to do all the questions at the end of the presentation and have kind of like an open Q&A forum. That goes for everyone here too. If you have any questions in the audience, they're going to wrap up their presentation. I'll be over there at the laptop taking questions online. So please submit your questions that you have while the presentation is going. If something pops up, type it in and we will get to that question at the end. But yes, like I said, please do not hesitate to ask a question. We'll get to that. And like I said, John and Tony, you guys are going to take it away. We are so glad you made it out here. First of all, who traveled the farthest?
Same distance.
Same distance? Mm-hmm. Where are you guys based out of?
Arlington, Virginia.
Arlington, Virginia, okay. Now, is it cold over there too? I mean, it's like 45 degrees today.
Maybe 5 degrees warmer.
5 degrees warmer?
But a whole lot wetter.
Yes, so much, yes. So real quick, just to kind of get to know you guys, how long have you been working for Nate?
I've been with Nate, it'll be 6 years next month, actually.
And what's your role?
Chief Operating Officer.
Yeah, see, we are very pleased to have the big man here tonight. And what about you, Tony? How long have you been with Nate?
It'll be 9 years in June. And
oh, wow.
I'm the manager of testing and education there.
Awesome. Great. So I will let you gentlemen take it away. And like I said, questions at the end, we'll have an open forum. Use that chat box if you are online, and we will get to those. But go ahead and take it away, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, I wish that I could tell you that all the wisdom I'm going to share with you would count towards Nate's certification, but I don't think Tony would let us get away with that.
Not technical in nature?
Not technical in nature. I want to thank you all, thank our friends at Jackson Systems for inviting us. We really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of information about Nate. As I said, I have been with the organization for about 6 years. We've made a lot of changes in that time, some of which I'll share with you now. What we're going to talk about tonight, I'll give you a brief history on the organization, talk about why we believe certification is important, talk about some of the changes that we made to our certification tests to engage technicians a little earlier in their career. Tony's going to talk about all the various exams that we currently have and what makes it easy for technicians to manage their certifications and for contractors to get involved in managing their certifications as well, and also how easy it is to recertify. So with that, I'll get started. Who is Nate? We are the largest nonprofit organization in the HVAC industry that is solely dedicated to certification for technicians. That's what we do. It's all we do. If we have some time towards the end, I'll talk a little bit about some exciting changes we're going to make in reference to developing technicians that we think is going to be important as well. Our history, so a little over 22 years ago, a group of manufacturers, contractors, wholesalers, and educators came together with the idea of, the question was, what could we do to make the HVAC industry stronger? And the idea was, we need to make technicians better. We need to improve their competence and their confidence. The organization, when it was created back in '97, offered a single exam, and that exam was only offered a couple of times a year. Today we have 23 exams, 500 testing organizations, and you could literally sit for a Nate certification exam pretty much any day of the week, just about any hour of the day. We have given in our history a little over 300,000 exams now and certified over 100,000 technicians, which we're pretty excited about. I'll talk about contractor benefits, but before I do, we as an organization have struggled, or did struggle for a number of years, trying to figure out exactly who our customer was. We distribute our exams most often through wholesale distributors, through organizations like Jackson Systems, in some cases through career and technical schools. And it is the technician who actually takes the test The technician works for the contractor. So we had this big debate around, is the wholesaler our customer? Is the technician our customer? And where we landed was really the contractor is our customer. It is the contractor more often than not that causes the exam to be taken. The contractor urges their technicians to go and take the exams. So we started thinking about, so what are the benefits this organization provides to those contractors? And you can see those on the screen. We've done studies, there's been independent work done, and we know that when NATE certified technicians work on equipment, there are fewer warranty returns. We know that there is fewer callbacks. Callbacks obviously do not provide revenue for contractors. They also don't instill a lot of confidence on the part of your customers. So NATE technicians really do make a difference for the contractor. We also know that contractors will use the fact that they have NATE certified technicians to differentiate themselves from other contractors who do not. One of the things that we do to make it sort of our give back to the contractors, if you will, is we have a public-facing portion of our webpage or our website called the C3 Connection, Consumer Contractor Connection. And that is an opportunity for contractors who have NATE certified technicians to advertise that, if you will, to our public. Here's an example of what that looks like. If a consumer, a homeowner, puts in their zip code, a list of NATE certified technicians and the contractors they work for will appear. You can see we have different levels. Actually, this doesn't show the different levels, but we've got a bronze, silver, platinum, which talks about the percentage of your technicians that are NATE certified. We have about 5,000 hits on this website every month, which is a pretty big deal. We are not a huge organization, but the fact that there are 5,000 homeowners out there that hit that website and are using it to find contractors to do work on their equipment, service it, install it, what have you, and they're choosing those contractors because they have NATE certified technicians. You can also, as a contractor, use that website to check the status of your technicians' certifications. You can learn which certifications they hold, obviously, when they're going to expire, and the number of continuing ed hours that they have to maintain that certification. From a marketing perspective, some of the other things that we make available to our contractor partners, you can advertise on your website with our materials. We can provide print material for you so that when you're sitting at the kitchen table with a homeowner talking about why your services are better than your competition, you can talk about the fact that you've got NATE certified technicians and what that means. We have our NATE magazine that we can provide for you, social media outreach, whether it be Facebook or Twitter. Again, we are not a huge organization with a multi-million-dollar marketing budget, but we do what we can to spread the word and spread the awareness of why NATE certification is important. Benefits to technicians, you can see them on the screen. There are quite a few. It's an opportunity for the technicians to differentiate themselves from the competition, from their peers. We know that when NATE certified technicians, again, work on something, they have greater competence because that is bred by the confidence that they have. It is no surprise that our certification exams are very difficult. In fact, I have in my other role as Chief Operating Officer for NATE, I'm also the Chief Operating Officer for AHRI, which is the equipment certification organization. I have a number of engineers that work for me. I've yet to see any of my college graduate, and in some cases master's levels engineers that can pass a NATE exam, which drives them crazy, by the way. We also know that NATE technicians have an opportunity to earn a higher wage because they are more sought after by contractors. And this is the thing I wanted to touch on. This is a big change that the organization made back in 2014, 2015. As I said, our exams are really difficult, and the chairman of the board that we had at the time, a gentleman named Wade Mayfield, contractor out of Omaha, real sharp guy, great success story. Worked in construction early in his career, wanted to do more for himself and his family, so he got NATE certified, got into HVAC. He is now the president of an organization called Thermal Services in Omaha, 160 or 65 technicians that work for him. Great success story, and one of the things he shared with us was because our exams are so challenging, he referred to them as sort of the PhD level of certification. He said we've created a barrier to entry for the guys that are just starting their career. So we created our 4 steps to HVAC success and introduced 2 new exams, our Ready to Work exam and the HVAC Support Technician exam. And these are really tailored for the people who have just started their career. We know that a lot of contractors are hiring folks that might have been painting houses last week. There's a significant shortage of technicians in our industry. And these 2 exams will, one, give technicians the confidence that they need to continue in their careers, and most importantly, give contractors an understanding of where their technicians are in their careers. The Ready to Work test really focuses on tools, safety. I like to tell contractors that if one of their new technicians can pass that exam, there's a good chance they're not going to hurt themselves or somebody else their first day on the job. The Support Technician exam is really geared towards the guys that you now have that are truck ready. They're able to go out, maybe do basic spring, fall tune-up work on equipment, not quite ready to do heavy diagnostic and service work, but they can get out there and they can start earning a living for themselves and for you before they get to the real challenging certification exams, which is at our level 3. And then finally at the top of the pile there is our level 4 Senior Energy Efficiency exam. That thing is a beast. We are working on that one because frankly, it's a little too much of a beast. I mean, I will tell you that in the country today, there are 75 technicians that hold that certification. So if you're one of them, congratulations. And actually I was giving a talk a couple of weeks ago and a fellow from the audience came up and said, I am one of them, which was pretty neat. But we felt like by introducing these 2 new entry-level exams, it gives technicians an opportunity to get a sense of understanding of what it's like to sit for our exams, what it means to be certified, and just really start that career path, which we know is important for contractors as well. I'm going to turn this over to Tony at this point. He's going to talk about all the different exams that we have. Again, I want to thank our friends at Jackson Systems for having us here and look forward to answering any questions that we get from the audience. Tony, you want to take it from here?
All right, thank you, John. So as John mentioned, we have those 4 levels of exams. So the exams you see here are what kind of make up that level 3, as we have multiple certifications. So we have certification exams in different types of equipment that you can see listed there, such as air conditioning, gas furnaces, heat pumps, oil furnaces, hydronics gas, hydronics oil, so on and so forth. And then we also offer some additional certifications kind of outside that 4-step model. And those would be the EPA 608 exams. You can get those done through any NATE-approved testing organization, as well as 2 exams that we have that we made when we partnered up with 2 other organizations in the industry. We have the ground source heat pump installer exam, which we do jointly with the International Ground Source Heat Pump Association, and the HVAC Performance Verifier exam, which we do jointly with ResNet. Additionally, we have the industry competency exams, or ICE exams, which are kind of those entry-level exams geared towards technicians completing technical or trade school. So now that you know about NATE tests, how do you prepare for those NATE exams? Your first step would be to review the CATES, which stands for the Knowledge Areas of Technician Expertise. And those would be the job task analysis that we have on our website. So it would be a listing of every topic that's covered by a particular exam, as well as the industry references the NATE subject matter experts and technical committee use to create that exam. So it's a good place to start, find out exactly what topics you need to know in order to take that particular exam. We also suggest that you attend a NATE recognized course or courses, either online or in person. Those can help you prepare for the NATE exam. And then finally, we have study manuals available on our online store at natex.org. When you're on that website, to the far right-hand side, you'll see a link for the NATE store, and you can purchase study manuals from our online store there.
If I can just add something to that, Tony. The technical committee that Tony referenced that works with us to create all of our exams is a group of 15 individuals from wholesale distributor organizations, from contractor organizations, from manufacturers. These are men and women who have probably, between the 15 of them, close to 500 years experience in the industry. I mean, it's a great group of people who help us develop all of those exams. So, and the important part of that is we don't have, a bunch of book smart guys back at the office that are building these things. These are people who are out in the field, in the industry, that have identified the competencies that are important for technicians to know and understand to properly service equipment. Go ahead, Tony.
All right, thank you, John. So once you've prepared for your NATE exam, your next step is to find an organization to take that exam with. We try to make that easy for you by having a locator available on our website at natex.org. Under the Technicians tab, there's a Find a Testing Organization link. When you click that link, the site will automatically pick up the zip code that you're connecting from and show you all the testing organizations in your area. You can also add in other zip codes if you want to look at nearby areas, or if you're connecting from somewhere else. So you can see anybody willing to give the NATE test in your area, and then you can contact any one of those testing organizations to schedule a testing session. Most of them do testing on demand, so they can set up a testing session particularly for you. Otherwise, they'd let you know the next time they're holding a larger testing session. So once you take your NATE exam, you want to keep these 4 steps in mind. So you want to activate your MyNATE profile. So once you've tested, you'll get contact information from NATE and activation information from NATE, where you can create your MyNATE profile by going to mynate.org. From there, you'd be able to start tracking and earning your continuing education hours. So as you take those online courses, when you log on to your MyNATE profile, you can see all those continuing education courses accumulating on your record. That's also where you can go to keep all of your contact information up to date with us, so you can get important notices from NATE about your recertification, how many continuing education hours you have, all those types of important notifications. And then finally, when you hit the end of your 2 years, you want to make sure that you recertify. You worked hard to earn that NATE certification. You want to make sure that you maintain it. So again, just mentioning MyNATE here, MyNATE makes it easy. That website again, mynate.org. From there you can track your continuing education hours, see all of your expiration dates. You'd be able to upload your training courses directly on the MyNATE site. If they weren't taken through a recognized training provider, that's where you can go to do that. And as I mentioned before, you want to make sure that your contact information is up to date so you get all those important notifications from NATE about your certification status. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about recert in depth. So there are continuing education requirements for recertification. You do need to earn 16 hours every 2 years in order to maintain that certification. Those courses can be anything specifically in your specialty or relevant to any specialty, such as controls, electrical, codes, airflow, because those are relevant to pretty much any NATE specialty. Any of those courses would give any of your specialties credit. And that includes courses that might not be NATE recognized, such as those that you might take for renewing your state license, an electrical license, or any OSHA safety training that you might do. As I mentioned, those training courses do have to be technical in nature. We can't give credit for HR or kind of sales courses, as those aren't covered on the NATE exam. So any courses that you take do need to be directly relevant to topics covered on whatever exam you're trying to renew. We give hour for hour credit. So if you take a 1 hour course, you get 1 hour credit. We don't do CEUs, we do CEHs, continuing education hours. And as I mentioned, they don't have to be NATE recognized, but those non-recognized courses will not be tracked automatically. So when you take a NATE recognized course, your instructor submits that roster directly to NATE. We give you those hours automatically. If you take courses that are not NATE recognized, you need to make sure that you have your own documentation so you can send that to NATE to make sure that you get credit for attending that course.
If I can just add, this was a big investment that we made in our technician community back in 2014. We had, as an organization, a pretty bad habit of not communicating effectively with technicians when their certifications were about to expire. Or we would wait and communicate literally when it was about to expire. The system that we put in place that Tony is referencing makes it possible for us to keep track of the hours that your technicians have. So they don't have to worry about, they have to communicate it to us, but once they've communicated that, we keep track of those records, we keep track of the hours, so that at any point they can get online, take a look at their record, and they know exactly where they stand. And we thought that that was important to help them in that way.
Yeah. All right. So some other recertification basics. There are 2 ways to recertify. You can use those continuing education hours that we were just speaking of, or you can retake your specialty exam. If you do renew using continuing education hours, it is a $25 fee to renew your first specialty, and then a $5 fee for any additional specialty on top of that one. However, just like when you became initially certified, taking a specialty like heat pump service that includes others at no cost, your recertification also includes those others at no cost. For example, heat pump would give you AC at no cost. If you had a service certification, it would give you your installation counterpart at no cost. If you recertify by retesting, the cost of renewal is going to be dependent on your testing provider, as you don't have to pay that recertification fee. You would just have to pay whatever that particular proctor is charging for the NATE exam.
Which will almost always be more.
Yes, we do encourage you to take continuing education hours and renew using those continuing education hours and making that $25 payment. The exams, as John mentioned, are very difficult. You should only take it once and then use your continuing education hours to renew after that point.
Yeah, and the other interesting little data point that I'll share with you, 5 or 6 years ago when technicians recertified, probably 80% of those that did so by taking the exam again. Today, that's completely flipped. Today, 80% of the technicians that recertify are doing so by having the continuing ed hours and keeping track of them. And that's really what we all want.
All right, so how do you go about submitting those continuing education hours to NATE? As we mentioned, any recognized course that you took, the instructor should submit that roster directly to NATE. You should see those hours automatically show up on your record. However, if you do need to submit your own hours for non-recognized courses that you might be taking, you can do that on mynate.org. So again, examples of those non-recognized courses would be things generally given by state governments for licensing renewal, things like OSHA. They don't register those courses with NATE, so you need to make sure that you keep track of those records yourself, and then you can upload them straight on mynate. So once a technician's certification does expire, you're not completely out of the game, as there is a 120-day grace period. So within that 120-day grace period, you can still retake just your specialty exam to renew, or continue to get those 16 hours and submit them to NATE. And to pay that online fee to renew your NATE certification, the quickest and easiest way to do that is straight through the NATE online store. So this is a screenshot of what that looks like at natex.org. On the far right-hand side there, you'll see the link for the NATE online store. Once you're on the online store, there's a section specifically for recertification where you can pay that $25 fee. If you're recertifying by testing, you just have to retake the specialty exam that you were previously certified in. However, if you do have multiple specialties, you would need to retake each specialty that's expiring. Again, if you did something like heat pump service, that would include those other ones at no cost, just like your initial certification. And again, as long as you're doing that before you expire or within 120 days of your expiration date, you do not need to retake the core exam. And for recertification testing, there's no special process. It's the same thing you did when you initially became certified. You just need to contact a local testing organization and then schedule that testing session. I think we'll open it up to questions now.
Sure.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. We got a lot of them, so
Outstanding.
You guys are strapped in here to answer some questions. Tyler, is Tyler on there? What is the webinar password to get into this computer?
It's,
That's right. That's right.
remember?
I don't suppose you want to say that out loud, do you?
I know.
Got some chairs
Lots of
for you
secrets
guys.
on
thank
this.
you.
Okay.
You guys are answering some questions.
Got some chairs for you.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, can you guys? They want me on camera for some reason. So if you can scoot
Move
the
over.
chair. Sorry, I was gonna do it off screen, but Tyler wants me on here. All right, guys. So we're gonna do a little Q&A here. We got quite a list of questions
Great.
For you. Let's go ahead and start. We've got a question from Mark Baxter. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for submitting your questions, by the way. We'll try to get to all of them here. Mark asks, if so, what is required to send to NATE? Oh, he had a question earlier. I'm sorry. Would red vector safety training count for CEHs? If so, what is required to send to NATE?
Yes, Red Vector actually is one of our recognized training providers, and I believe they have one or more of their courses registered with NATE, so their safety training should count. If they haven't submitted that roster for a course you attended, we would just need some sort of documentation that you attended, such as a certificate of completion. Most important things to be on that certificate of completion are the date of the course length and hours, and of course that your name is on it.
Okay, perfect. That was easy, right?
We,
All right.
we do try to make it as easy as possible for the technicians to provide us that information.
Right. Good. We got another question from Joseph. He wants to know, for those that have failed the senior exam, will changing the exam warrant a reevaluation of those failed exams?
Good question. And unfortunately, the answer is no. So the idea behind that senior exam, to be perfectly candid, that is an exam that was created years ago. And if I had to guess, I'd say the guys in the room who created that thing sort of had the idea of, I've been around for 50 years and I know all this stuff, so by golly, you better know it too.
Right.
And honestly, it does not serve the industry as well as I believe it could.
Okay.
So we've asked our technical committee to take a look at that thing. What we really want it to be is truly that step 4, think of it as a master level certified technician. So the technical committee, working with Tony, is overhauling that entire thing, probably going to have a bunch of new questions. So no, if you failed it, we'd encourage you to take the new one again when it comes out. But if I understood the question right, no, we can't give credit just because it was hard.
Okay. No, I wish I could have done that in high school.
Yeah, no kidding.
Gotten to a better college. This question is from Vinny in New York. The question starts with Vinny from New York. Is there any test that's been given in New York?
Yeah, we give a lot of tests in New York.
There you go, Vinny. Yes, we do the questions in New York.
We have a great many testing organizations, really all over the country. I think I mentioned at the beginning that we have 500 testing partners. So yeah, I'm certain we have plenty of them in New York.
Awesome. How do they find the testing organizations in New York?
So again, you can go online. You want
Okay.
to talk about that slide again? You can go online.
So natex.org under the, so we have different tabs across the top of the screen. One of those tabs will say technicians. When you click on that technicians tab, you'll want to go down to find a testing organization. And it should automatically pick up your zip code, or you can type it in there, and that'll pull up any testing organization in your area, and then you can contact anyone to schedule a testing session.
All right.
Perfect. All right, Michael from Bragano Heating. He's got a couple questions here. Just want to know, he just took the exam. He wants to know, how long does it take for the results, and is the online test training free?
So if you took the exam online, you get the results immediately, pretty much right after you answer the last question.
Yeah.
If you took it with a paper exam, we say that there's roughly an 8-day processing cycle. By the time the exam gets back to us for scoring, grading, that kind of thing, and the information gets back out.
Okay.
So it could go as long as 10 days.
Gotcha.
And the other part of the question was?
Is it free online? Are the online test trainings free?
No. I mean, the testing partners that we have will provide training to organizations, to their contractor partners and whomever. They obviously charge a fee for that, the fee to utilize the space and the trainer that sits in the room. We also have study guides for some of our exams that can be purchased online from us at a very, very nominal cost.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. All right, Michael's got a question here. Maybe this might make more sense to you guys. He said he studies the booklet for the AC portion and found many of the questions were not covered in the booklet. Is there any other way to study? Does that make sense?
So the booklet, wonder if he's talking about the yellow book?
Yeah.
For the AC?
Yeah.
You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, that particular book wasn't developed by Nate. It is just a study guide, so it's not really meant to have, because I know we get this a lot, that the sample questions at the end of every chapter, those particular questions are not on the exam, and that is by design. So to maintain exam security and integrity, All of the exam questions are contained within the exam, and they're confidential. So those practice questions that you see in those yellow books are not the ones that will appear on the exam.
Yeah, and if I can, I would just add that book, if it's the same book we think it is,
Okay.
is really a broader industry, understand how AC works, not necessarily how to pass the AC exam that Nate has. We are doing, as I said, we have created some study guides. We are looking at creating practice tests.
Okay.
The important thing that Tony mentioned, though, is we don't ever want to teach to the test. You know,
Right.
I'm sure we've all had different certification or certificate courses that we've taken where the instructor will get up there and say, you know, if you're ever asked this, the answer would be, and you get a little wink, and we don't want to do that because that would damage the integrity of our certification program. We are, though, as I mentioned at the little teaser when I first started the show tonight, we are looking at an opportunity for Nate to become very involved in the development of technicians. We haven't exactly figured out what that means yet, but we know that there's a big void out there and that we can help fill that. The idea would be we would create potentially curriculum, we would point people to certainly training that's already out there. There's a lot of training out there. You guys have training, manufacturers have training.
Right.
And our idea would be if we could point technicians to this series of classes with the understanding that, you know what, if you follow this list and get these classes under your belt, take our study guide, you've got a great chance of passing our certification exam. That's where we want to go.
Awesome. All right, I got Ricardo, unless any questions in the audience? Ricardo, he's in California. He's got a couple California-related questions. He says, in Cali, NATE certified techs are not really required strictly. When will NATE certification be given more importance or preference in California? And then his second part to that is, how do you become a proctor for NATE in a trade school in California?
Sure. You know, NATE certification is not required anywhere, interestingly enough, except Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Terre Haute.
Really?
Terre Haute, sorry.
Terre Haute.
Terre
Yeah.
Haute.
Good old terrible Haute.
Yeah, they have a requirement
Paradise.
on the books
Yeah.
that you have to hold some type of certification to service HVAC equipment. You know, certainly EPA has their requirements around the 608 exam, but there is no requirement mandated by the state or any other regulatory agency to have NATE certification. Again, as I pointed out, the benefits to the contractors and the technicians of having it, there are many. It's important. We have a great partner in California, iHacky.
Yeah.
You want to
yeah.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, iHacky is a large training organization down there in Southern California. They do a lot of different technician training events, as well as a lot of NATE testing. And they're highly involved with the utility companies down there in Southern California, because that is a way NATE is kind of part of the Southern California, not really a requirement, but Southern California Edison does offer rebates for contractors that are on NATE's C3 listing, so they have to have at least 25% of their technicians NATE certified, and being on that C3 listing qualifies them for some of those rebates.
And the rest of the question, how would he become a proctor?
Oh, how to become a proctor? There are applications on our online website at natex.org under the Partners and Testing tab. You can find a tab for testing organizations where you'll find that application, and then a tab for proctors where you'll find that application as well. There's no fees or anything like that. You just need to complete those applications, send them into NATE. Typically, we review them within about 24 to 48 hours, and then you'll have your response within approval.
Awesome.
These are great questions.
Yeah, well, we actually had a couple questions on how to become a proctor, but so just in case, we might even be able to post that later on, just kind of like a step-by-step where to find it on the NATE page. Here's another question from Fair Stanley. I have many hours on webinars with factories and many hours with RRSES. Can you tell us how to submit these hours to you, being NATE?
Okay. Yeah, so for any courses that you take that your instructor hasn't automatically, kind of submitted those attendance rosters to us, Process is pretty straightforward. You just want to log into mynate.org. Once you're on your technician homepage, if you scroll down, you'll see all your certifications listed with your currently tracked continuing education hours. Then you'll just want to go over to your course history tab, which will show you a listing of all those courses making up those hours. And there'll be a button to add and submit a course. So you just fill out that, attach your documentation that you attended. As we mentioned before, you need some sort of documentation just to prove that you were at that course, such as a certificate of completion. Just upload that on the site and submit it. And then NATE staff will review that. Typically, the submissions are reviewed within about a week or so, depending on the volume that we're receiving them at. And then they'll be approved and added to your record, and you'll see those continuing education hours show up.
And since nobody could possibly remember all of that except Tony,
Yeah, that was impressive.
if you have any questions at all, call our 800 number. We've got a small customer service team back at the office that'll be happy to walk you through all of that.
Awesome. And I know there were some questions that kind of alluded to, what is mynate.org exactly? Like, what is that primarily used for?
That's what we call our CMS, or Certification Management System. So that is a website where technicians can log in and view their certifications, continuing education hours, all of that. It's also where proctors would log in to order NATE exams, create online sessions, where training orgs go in there to register courses. So it's pretty much where any of NATE's different audiences log into NATE to submit information to us or track their own information.
Very good. We got Alex all the way in LA. Alex, thanks for watching. He wants to know who's the big educator in the LA, Southern California area.
Well, as we mentioned, IHACI is
IHACI?
a
Okay.
really large testing or a training and testing organization in Southern California. I believe Brownson Technical School is also in Southern California, another one of our larger partners.
Awesome. We got another question for wanting to be a proctor. I guess this is just a different region. He wants to become a proctor in his area. He understands the supply houses are supposed to offer, but they don't in my area, and he's in Northeast Arkansas.
Okay.
I don't know if that was a question, but he said he would like, that was it was a statement. He wants to become a proctor in his area. I guess, again, what are the steps he needs to take to become a proctor in this area?
Yeah, so to become a proctor, it's just 2 applications you can fill out on our online site at natex.org. Again, under partners and testing, that's where you'll find all those different links for our different applications. So you'll find them for proctors, testing organizations, and training organizations. As well as if there's any contractors out there having trouble finding a testing organization, if you want to contact NATE, you can share your information or contact information with your local distributor or supply house, and we'd be happy to contact them and talk to them about becoming a testing organization as well.
Awesome. Ferris, he wanted to also ask another question. Ferris is watching online. He says, I'm very proud holding a 13 certificate of NATE, including the efficiency analyst certification. So do I have to wear both NATE professional certificates on my shirt or only one? That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, that's a personal choice. I've seen technicians who have all their certifications and they'll line them up all the way down
the
arm.
sleeve.
Yeah,
just get like those general patches, with the little colors across there. That's not a bad idea. Okay, perfect. Jose wants to know, what is ICE? I know I saw that earlier. What does ICE stand for, and what is ICE?
Yeah, so ICE is the Industry Competency Exam. That's an exam that was created many years ago, primarily used in the career and technical school world. There are 6 parts to it, which Tony can go into more detail about. It is another exam that we're looking at potentially refreshing. It has been used, as I said, in career and technical schools, in some cases, as the capstone test at the completion of a course. Instructors will use that to determine if the individual passed their class or not. Anything you want to add about that exam?
Yeah, so there's 3 of them. There's a residential ICE exam, which John mentions, broken into 6 different parts, loosely kind of line up with the NATE certifications. And then there's 2 additional ICE exams, one for light commercial HVAC and commercial refrigeration.
Right.
Awesome. Another proctor question. Ricardo wants to know, do proctors receive pay from NATE?
No. So proctors do set their own fees for the NATE exam. So NATE wholesales the exams to you, and then you're able to add your own proctor fees into the final price that you charge the technician when they come in to test. Right. But NATE itself does not pay you directly.
I can't remember if you guys covered this or not. Do you have to be tied to a special trade school or anything to become a proctor?
Well, you do have to have a testing organization registered with NATE,
Okay.
so you do have to be tied to that testing organization. But testing organizations, we have contractors, wholesalers, manufacturers, schools.
Yeah, you can
pretty
create
much
your
everybody.
own testing organization first and then be the proctor for it.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see. Any questions in here so far? I've still got. You guys got time for a little bit more questions?
Sure.
A few more.
Yeah, we'll take a few more.
Let's see. I got one here from Brent. Is innate certification considered a recognized training in HVAC in Oregon? I guess they're required it for a state license. Is
about
innate
Oregon
certification
specifically?
considered?
No, unfortunately, I don't know about Oregon's licensing laws
Okay.
specifically. I can look into that and get back to you.
Gotcha. Sandra, she wants to know, will being NATE certified help me find a job?
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely will. Contractors understand the value of NATE certification. Contractors understand, frankly, how challenging it is to earn those certifications. We have, in fact, contractors that use our first level exam, that ready to work exam, to make hiring decisions. If you're interviewing two candidates, you feel like they both might do a pretty good job, they'll give them each that exam and really get an understanding of, do they know tools, do they know safety, do they know the terminology, and they'll let that be sort of the last cut to decide who to hire.
Okay. Michael's got another question here for the test. If you fail a test, do you find out what questions you got wrong? Do you see the answers instead?
No, so as we mentioned before, the exam, to maintain the exam integrity, we can't release the items because then they'd be out on the internet within days, and then we'd have to replace the exam every time anybody took the exam.
Right.
However, we do give you a score report, which will break down the exam by domain area and let you know exactly which sections of the exam, how you did on each one of those sections, so you know where to focus studying before you go to retest.
Right.
Awesome. Stacy wants to know, do you recommend an online study class?
I mean, not a specific online course. We do have a few online providers, again, on that same website, natex.org, where you can go and see all those different online providers that NATE has. Pretty much any one of those would have good prep courses that you could take.
Okay. All right. Ricardo wants to ask another question here. He said, would you recommend trade school teaching HVAC to conduct NATE training in their schools?
I'm not sure I completely understand the question. We have a great many career and technical schools who are partners with us, who use the industry competency exam, the ICE exam, again, as part of their curriculum. So if he's asking, would we recommend a particular one, I can't.
Yeah.
We work with a number of them, and they're all very good. I would say, though, a little factoid that I've heard over and over again, of the technicians working in the field today, only about 15% of them came through a career and technical school program. The other 85% are getting on-the-job training. That's how they're learning the
Right.
field.
Right. Okay. Another question from Carl. Carl wants to know, how much do NATE exams cost, and does NATE give the EPA?
We provide our exams on sort of a wholesale basis to testing organizations, which could be wholesale distributors, could be contractors themselves, career and technical schools. So we don't set the final price that technicians pay, or that contractors pay for their technicians to take them. And yes, we administer the 608 exam through our testing organization network of 500 entities out there. And that's something we started doing 3 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, I think September 2015.
Yeah, we are officially approved by EPA as an exam administrator for them.
Awesome. Another online question. Tyrese, do you have any certification related to home automation or smart home products? I know that's a growing industry, especially in the HVAC world.
Not presently, not specifically for that, but that is a certification that we are looking at developing.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. Mark, thanks, Mark, for your question. He wants to know, what is the pass rate percentage for the core test?
Great question. So all of our exams, whether it be the core, whether it be our specialties, generally speaking, there's about a 70% pass rate. So of the technicians that sit down and take that, roughly 70% pass. That ranges from sort of 68 up to 74-ish, but typically the pass rate is about 70.
Okay. And I just got a new online question here from Mutaz. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He wants to know how many types of tests are there in NATE, or how many NATE types are there? Is there a couple tests to take to become fully NATE certified?
Right, so to be completely NATE certified, I'm going to answer the easy questions and throw the hard ones to Tony. To be fully NATE certified, you have to pass our core exam and one of our specialties. We've got probably 20 different specialties that fall into that category that are either on the install side or the service side. If you'd like, Tony could run through every one of the 23 exams we have. Why don't you just hit sort of the top 5 or 6 that technicians are taking?
Yeah, so in addition to the core, you would need we have air conditioning, which comes in both installation and service. We have gas heat, again, installation, service. Heat pump, installation and service. Then we have oil heating, hydronics oil, hydronics gas, light commercial refrigeration, and commercial refrigeration. And those are all service only.
And to be clear, you don't have to take the installation and the service. You choose the specialty that you want.
Okay.
And if you do take that service specialty, you're automatically awarded its installation counterpart.
Right.
As well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Alex has a pretty good question here. Does anyone know how many field technicians say they're certified when they've only passed the core test?
I don't know how many say they are. I know how many are currently actually certified.
Yeah.
There are close to 35,000 technicians out there that have a current active certification. I'm sure there are probably a lot more that say they are, though.
Yeah, I would imagine. Here's an interesting, Mark just sent this question in. Do you feel the exams given during the initial HVAC training degrade the experience that customers receive if no other training or experience in the field?
I would say no. If you have the skills and the understanding of the trade to successfully complete one of our certification exams, you know your stuff.
Right.
If you are able to do that, we strongly encourage technicians to have at least a couple of years in the field before they attempt our higher level certification exams. But if you've got the background knowledge and understanding to pass those exams, I don't think that's degrading anything. Now, that said, obviously somebody who's been in the field for 10, 15 years knows more. I mean, they've had more experiences, they've seen more issues with different pieces of equipment, so certainly experience counts.
Right.
But if you hold that certification, that means a lot.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's see if I'm hitting refresh here. Here's another question from Alex. Exams are available in what languages? English, Spanish, is there any other ones?
You want to talk about the ones that we have translated?
Yeah, so all of the exams are available in English. And then we have core, air conditioning, heat pump, and gas heating, all translated into Spanish. And we're working on translating the ready to work and HVAC support exams into Spanish right now. We hope to have that completed sometime this summer.
All right.
Awesome. Any questions in here, guys? Feel free to chime in anytime. What's up, Mike? How are you? Here's one that I missed. Javier wants to know, what marketing material does NATE provide to help promote my business, if
Sure.
any?
You can certainly go to our website and pull down images of NATE logos. We can provide you stickers for your trucks. We've also got a one-page document that I think I referenced earlier. So if you're sitting across the table from a potential customer talking about installing a new system or talking about selling a service contract, it's a piece that talks about the value of certification and why your organization sort of stands out from the rest because you've invested in your technicians, whether it be in training, certification, what have you, and it does matter. And we've developed this one-pager for contractors specifically to use that.
Awesome. Okay, I haven't gotten a new question online yet. Here's one I missed. Hector wants to know, what states in the U.S. require some level of NATE certification to obtain any type of state HVAC installation and or service license?
Yeah, I touched on that one earlier. I'm not aware. Are you aware of any states that require it?
In Texas, they require a certification exam, so NATE isn't the only one you can take, but it's one of the qualifying exams you can take before you sit down for your Texas contractor's license exam.
Okay.
That's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay. Phil wants to know, besides the wallet card, do you provide any other items I can wear to show off my certification? Or maybe 2 shirts like the other guy.
Well, so we have obviously the patches that are important for technicians. The other thing that we did, we partnered with an organization called Badge Cert, primarily for the younger crowd of which I am not a part any longer. But what Badge Cert does is if you want to show off your certification on your Facebook page, LinkedIn, it is basically an electronic certification badge that you can put out there, and it's clickable. So if you click on it, it'll open up another window that shows the certifications you hold, when you got them. I mean, it's a pretty slick tool, you know, in this electronic age that so many of the younger technicians are a part of.
Where can they get some NATE swag? Where can they buy apparel like hats
Talk
or
about
shirts?
what's in the online store.
Yeah, and that's on the online store. So we do have apparel, as you mentioned. You can buy NATE shirts, NATE hat, but primarily the patches for your uniforms are on there as well. So once you become NATE certified, we'll require your NATE ID number to purchase those. But you can buy those patches for display on your uniform, both the general NATE professional patch, and then you can get a specialty chevron for each one of those specialty exams that you obtain.
And we actually, one of our board members, a contractor out of New York, when he comes to our board meeting twice a year, he wears the whole sleeves. He's got them all.
Really?
And he's very, very proud of them. Yes, he is.
Well, yeah, I would be too. I think that's it for the online questions. We haven't had any more come in unless... let's see. Here's one from Alex. He says, I've submitted several questions in writing a day or 2 ago. Will those questions be answered at the end of today's live webcast? Alex, I think we've answered a few of yours. I'm not sure if those were written before. But I'm pretty sure we covered them. I know I read out some questions from you before, so hopefully those were the same ones that you wrote down a couple days ago.
Well,
so
and I would
short
say,
answer, yes.
to that point, if other questions come in, you know, when we're done here,
Yeah.
please pass those on to us. We'd be happy to answer them and, you know, send information back to your audience.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I appreciate you being here. This was great. I mean, like I said, we can't stress enough how important it is to understand NATE certification and just the validity that comes behind that. And you guys drove that home today. We love partnering with you guys, doing trainings that are NATE certified that we do offer here at Jackson Systems, whether it be live or you can actually watch them on demand on the Jackson Systems webpage as well and still get NATE certification. So thank you guys very much. Give them a round of applause today. This was great. Thank you so much, John, Tony. We appreciate it. And everybody watching online, thank you for attending. And again, if you have any questions at all, you can always submit to info@jacksonsystems.com. If you missed something on the training, don't forget to go to the Contractor Resources portal on the website. That's where you can see this video later on. I think it's posted within 24 to 48 hours, depending on how much Tyler's slacking back there. But it will be rebroadcasted, and hopefully you can attend that as well. So thank you so much for attending online. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for attending here live in person. We hope to see you next time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.